Hello again, my homies. It's James here with Rewind Electric again, and welcome to the Rewind Electric Show. We're going to open some more mail today, as if you couldn't tell. I think I know what's in here. And it's another candidate for one of the classic vintage pedal shootouts I'm doing. And if this is the one I think it is, you might think you're you might think you're watching a rerun when you see it, but you're not. Okay. Some amount of paperwork here. Oh man, I hate packing peanuts. They're just static and they get everywhere. They're not very good at packing. They don't taste salty enough. Am I the only one that thinks that they could use a little more salt? I mean, don't get me wrong, they're good with mustard, but okay, who's ready for deja vu? It feels like what I think it is. And it is. It is an MXR M134, I think, stereo chorus. Now, nope, you don't have deja vu. I have two. This is the one we just went over. This is another one. In some ways, this one's cleaner condition. The printing is actually a little bit nicer on the lettering here. This part of the border and over here maybe. On the other hand, there's a lot of grime and dirt on this one. Somebody wrote on it with a Sharpie. Mic, I like that. Somebody was getting creative using it with a mic. So, yeah. What really matters is what they sound like, of course. We're going to get into that. But as with all things on Rewind Electric, if you want to hear it, you have to open it up first. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Now, I'm seeing a trend here. 1, 2 screws that don't belong. The other one had one that doesn't belong. I guess I can make one that has all of them. Now this one has that rubber thing on it, or this one didn't. Perhaps these rubber pads just came in the box and you stuck it on yourself if you wanted to. Maybe that's how that worked. Now I'm told, in fact I saw a photo, so I'm more than told, that this is a Redicon chip inside this one as well as was the other. And let's find out here. So there should be dip switches and one I see right about here that says Redicon, 2 dip switches there, a couple trim pots. Yes, all those things are the case. Dip switches, trim pots, Redicon chip. Now, it has the MXR foam of doom. Yeah, so I'm gonna brush this off before we play with it because it's just gross. So bear with me for one moment, please. I'll leave you this disgusting piece of foam to look at. I'll step over here. Okay, with that accomplished, I can at least show you guys the Redicon chip, which is right here. Can you see that? Does it say Redicon? Should say SAD 1024 and some other thing. I called the 1024 bits, and that's not actually the case, It's 1,024 buckets. You know, they're little capacitors. And in, I'm speaking over my head here, but in storage RAM for digital electronics, they're also capacitors, I believe, but they're used differently. So technically it's not the same. Yeah, they're accessed numerically, whereas this guy's accessed in an analog way. Okay, now I'm going to take my spudger and scrape this nasty pedal cancer off of here. One moment, please. Better? Okay. So that's, as cleaned off as it's going to get without something like acetone. I don't think it's necessary to go that far. Maybe I should. But I don't want to mess up the yellow paint on this. Okay, well, I've kind of covered all this stuff inside the other one. I'm not going to mark these yet because I'm not going to adjust them yet, but I'm going to do both marking and adjusting of them. What I'd like to do with this one is, since this still has the grounded prong, unlike the last one, I don't feel the need to change that either. But let's have a look. I'd like to clean this case up a little bit. So I think I might take the knobs and switch off. This is loose. It's not good. Let's look under the board. Have a look at the pots. I know from experience now that we gotta remove this header before we can really go any further. Okay. Okay, good deal. And there's the original Sprague capacitor. 500D, USA 7933, which I think is 1979. Does it say the value? 425 DC. Yes, I guess that's 400 microfarads at 25 volts DC. All right. Can we see the pots? Pot codes are 1979, 1979, and 1980. 1980. See, that means that this wasn't made any earlier than 1980 because you can't build a pedal in 1979 with a pot from 1980 because this pot didn't exist in 1979. So that one pot helps us date this to being 1980 or later. And because it's a reticon, I'm gonna say it's probably is 1980. I don't know if I don't think these serials say anything. There's a sticker here. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna remove this whole assembly here of pots, jacks, and switch. I'm not going to remove this power cord so the PCB can stay. All right, just sit tight, my friends. Okay, stay like that. Okay, and I'm just doing this so that I can clean the case because this case is particularly grungy. A wise person would argue that perhaps I should try the pedal first in this case so that if there's a problem, I can contact the seller and deal with it before taking it apart. But an ambitious person like myself might not do that. So I'm not gonna. I mean, there's only so much that could go wrong here. And really, it's that I'm taking it apart on camera, so, you know. Should the worst happen, I've documented it. Yeah, if I get this thing all back together and it doesn't work, it will be shown that I didn't actually do anything wrong. Okay, so this 1980 pot's giving me a hard time. There we go. There's some little washers under these knobs. I could have used one of these washers on that Gaiatone. Can you guys see that? Maybe I should zoom out a little more. So on the shafts for the pots, under the knobs, but above the nuts, are these washers. And that prevents this from dragging on the nut. I just dropped the set screw out of this knob. And that would have been really handy on that Gaiatone Zoom box. Man, wasn't that pedal cool? If you didn't catch that one, go back and watch it. That is a cool drive pedal. I can't wait to do some comparisons with that. See how it sounds against, say, a MXR Distortion Plus or a Ross Distortion. I think those would be fun comparisons. These should be 1/2 inch. Okay. Now, I should really be holding the pot casing from the backside, but the thing is, I'm just giving you a little turn, and if I feel it, the whole thing moving rather than the pot, just the nut breaking free and slipping quick, I just will stop turning it. And then I'll go back and deal with that. Okay. These switch rings, they give me such trouble sometimes. I have a tool for getting that kind of thing off, but it doesn't really want to grab onto there very well sometimes. Sometimes those little tiny switch rings are just too small. Yeah, like that, like today. I'm going to try it with the plastic lineman pliers. Well, they're not really linemen, but they would be used by linemen. Oh, okay, that worked. Just need that little tiny bit. Oh, it is crusty. Should Put a drop of oil on there before I took it off. This pedal is in some grimy condition. All right, now these 1/2 inch, right? Is that what this is? Okay, that should be good. Boy, I need a sip of my iced desert coffee. What makes it desert coffee, you might ask? Me. I made it here in the desert. Pretty straightforward, right? If you have to ask what makes it iced, Lord help you, sir. It's not my cold heart. Okay. Now this should all come out as a unit. Look at that. Beautiful. Okay. We are rocking and rolling and moving right along here. This is working great. Okay. I need a bag. I happen to have one right here, apparently. This looks... Yeah, this will be fine. See what I'm doing is I'm putting this PCB inside a bag, closing it up as much as I reasonably can. Okay, and then we're gonna tuck this back in here. Okay. And the point of that is so that we can clean the top without worrying about dripping stuff in there. I happen to know I'm very low on these, so I think I'm going to run out and get another in a second. Oh, there's 3. Can we do the whole job in 3? Maybe. First thing I'm going to do is try and get this mic and amp off. Without messing up the paint. So let's see. Here, this little strip where the paint's very thin is a perfect place to test. If the paint comes off there, it does, but like only the tiniest bit. So I think that's just overspray that wasn't properly adhered. I feel pretty safe about this now. Because we know rubbing alcohol will take Sharpie off. I can probably zoom in. Show you guys what I'm doing a little better. And now the amp. I'm going to go on record again and say I'm impressed with some previous owner who was plugging a mic into this. That must have been quite a sound. I mean, they have line and instrument switches internally. I'm dying to know where this one's set, by the way. Okay, these are both down. So I think that last one I had was set with the input at instrument, making it more sensitive, and the output at line, making it quite loud. Okay, I had a little trouble with the camera cutting out on me, filling up the storage drive, so I didn't do anything else. I believe I caught it right in time, and I'm going to just continue on here. Okay, so let's get this cleaned up a little more. Very careful. You can see it's taking off just a tiny bit of yellow, but mostly it's taking off grimy dirt. Now, this is not going to look perfect, but can you see how the rings around those jacks are distinctly not clean? Just trying to make it look a little bit better. Just trying to make it look the tiniest bit better. And I think it's working. So far, so good. Now I'm like really going at it, and you can see it is slightly yellowing the paper towel here. But it's, you know, pulling off 90% dirt, 1% paint, 9%. I don't know. Some other thing. Yeah, I'm just making up numbers and talking out my. This is where that writing was. Kind of still is. And I don't expect to get it off entirely. Because it's, I mean, you gotta expect it's gonna stain the case to some extent. It is mighty grimy around those knobs. but we're making progress. It's actually coming out pretty nice. Maybe I should clean the other one. All right, let me a new paper towel, a little bit more alcohol. I'm not sure if this is on the paint or scratched through the paint. It's kind of hard to tell. I don't like to do this, but I'm going to try and get one little area. It is on the paint. Interesting. Okay. That's in the paint. I'm so lightly touching this, very lightly. Coming off though. In a way, I kind of like this razor knife more than the alcohol because I can go up against the lettering, not worry about taking it off, and then just hit it real quick, ooh, with the rubbing alcohol. This is a really dull blade, by the way. I don't know if you can see that. Whoa, here we go. Okay, maybe not. Having a hard time showing that, but the tip is fairly dull. I'm not putting any pressure on it other than just about the weight of the knife. And there's no points on this knife where I'm rubbing it where it's sharp enough to dig in. All right, let's see. Okay. That's it. Done. A little bit more on that side. Okay. Well, look at that. Saved 2 left. I thought I wouldn't have enough for 3. I only need 1. Oh gosh. Alright, I'm going to try one more thing. Now that I know that alcohol is fairly safe on the paint, I'm going to see if it does anything to that. I don't think it will. But let's try this. Just let that sit for a minute. Did not mean to get it under it. This foam is a gross mess. You can see where it's kind of pulled up over here. And it just turns to dust the moment you touch it. And that'll get inside all the pots, the trim pots. You've seen in my other videos, you can shake these pedals and it'll fall out the jacks. I'm gonna put a little more in here and then just set this aside. Just gonna set this aside carefully over here. All right, and we can start reassembling this part. Yep, see how that bag protected that? Good stuff. I'm gonna leave that in the bag while I get the pots back in. That'll continue to protect it. And while these pots are out, give them a little blast. I'm just rotating it back and forth. It's kind of hard to do without a knob on there and without the pot installed in the chassis, but I'll rotate them around a little bit more once I put it back in. Ooh, that one needed it. You hear it? You hear the difference? It's like... see, it's all crusty on that shaft too. That's the 1981. Yeah, it's like those 1970s pots are awesome, and then as soon as they hit 1980, they're terrible. I'm just kidding. Probably no difference at all. You can see like around these pots, it's got some of that nasty foam on them. Undoubtedly in them. The switch has it on it. Hopefully not in it. Look how crusty that switch is and the threads. Give the switch a little blast. This is excessive, by the way, but these are such cool pedals. Whether I keep it or it goes to someone else, they deserve it. Deserve a little love. All right. Oh, I forgot to put the lock washers on. They go on first before the pots go in. Oh, this one's so crusty. Gotta tighten those down first. Okay. Now I feel like we're rocking and rolling. All this bag is ripped. So let's just lose it. Okay. I'd like to take a capacitance reading on that capacitor. See if it's capacitating. This is not a this is an inconclusive test. If it reads well, we don't know that it's good. It's only if it reads bad, you know, if it's way off, then we know it either has some parallel circuitry or it's bad. So it's not a pointless test, but it's not conclusive either. Trying to do this with one hand. Oh, that was not what I wanted to do. There we go. 0.034. Oh, nope, it's jumping around. Yeah, this is probably just not a good test. Yeah. 0.034 nanofarads, that's not correct. So it's just that there's some parallel stuff. Oh, yes, the switch. There's some parallel circuitry in there that's preventing me from taking a clean reading without removing the capacitor, which is probably the thing to do. Yeah, let me take some caliper measurements of that. I think the last one I measured was not the original cap, which would be helpful. So the other one fit, but let's just say 32.2 millimeters by 12.61 millimeters, and that is a Sprague 500D 400-25 DC. So I guess that's a 400. Just seems like a large value for that size cap from that era. But I'll confirm that on the schematic. This claims that it's a 400 microfarad. Maybe it's 40. Maybe they're not using microfarads. I'll look on the schematic. I do have one for this. Let's just brush that off. Okay. Get this guy put back together. Tested. You know, I have a bunch of screws that are for MXR pedal cases, but they're not for this. They're for like the bud. Well, this might be a bud box, but they're for the smaller type that have the recessed. I guess they're like countersunk Phillips head screws on the bottom. They actually are flathead, so not what these need. But since this one is such a mess, maybe I'll try, and then I'd at least have 4 MXR screws from the right era. Okay, stand by. Okay, so I've got this cleared off now. I didn't show it on camera, but I had a rubbing alcohol sitting in here, and then the foam came off, and then eventually I was able to peel the plastic away. There's still a little bit of tackiness to it, but the actual plastic part is gone. I suppose I could put down some packing tape on it to act as an insulator. It's actually pretty close to the adhesive that was on it before. So I guess I'll do that just in case something were to bump up against the inside of this. It'll be nice and insulated. Plus it's going to kind of cover up that tackiness and keep dust and such from sticking to it. I think I'm off camera here. How's that? Just kind of going mostly edge to edge. And then if I do one more, since I'm tucking these pieces in at the ends, if I do one more across the middle, we'll have 2 layers over everything, and I think that's sufficient. You know, I could use Kapton tape or something if I wanted to be more proper about my electrical insulation, and I probably should, because this is an AC pedal, but the only Kapton tape I have is very thin. But you know, with the AC cord under here and this PCB screwed down, there's really nothing that can touch it. Oh, I wonder how easily I can get to my MXR screws. Let's try. Let's find out. There, this one. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. MXR pedal screws. And these are 632 1/2-inch flathead Phillips drive screws. Not actually correct for this. Oh shoot, I don't even think these are 632s, are they? Here's an original. Let's see what we've got here. Maybe they are. Let's see. Yeah, they are, but like I said, these are for the little, like a Phase 90, you know, the little rectangular mini MXR pedals that were so cool and popular. They inspired Boss Ibanez, DoD, Ross, and everyone else to do the same. Let's see, 632, I think. think that's it. Oh, those might be too long. Telecaster bridge mounting screws. Bridge pickup mounting screws. Yeah, those are a little long. Let me look one more place. I think I have some short ones. I might have a few. Oh, there's a slotted drive. They're also too long, I think. Those are 5/8. Yeah, I need probably a 1/2 inch. Hold on one sec. So I do have these. I have tons of these. These are the ones that you would mount a CRL switch with on a modern Strat. I think they're going to be too short though. Yeah. Shoot, I've got 3 lengths. 2 are a hair too long. 1's a hair too short. I think I have more though. Hold on. While I'm looking for these, let me talk a little bit here. Here's 832s. Here's 632s. Yesterday, for the upcoming classic vintage analog delays shootout, I have acquired the, maybe it's not considered the #1 most necessary delay for that, but it's pretty close. It's up there. You might argue that a Deluxe Memory Man is #1. You might even argue that a DM2 is #1. But I got... Oh, shoot. Now I want to call it a DM1. Why am I... Yeah, it's a DM1. Why am I, like, struggling to get that name right? Look what I got here. Those are right. Okay, a DM1, as in a Boss DM1, the original. There's only 1 correct screw in here. I'm going to put in the other one that's missing 1. The other 3 are all wrong. Sorry, gosh, I'm trying to do 2 things at once here and think and talk and failing on both counts. I got a Boss DM1, the first analog delay, maybe at all. I think it is the first. It's the big brown unit with 2 switches on it. I think it is labeled Boss. At that time, some of the pedals were labeled Boss, some were labeled Roland. It's kind of hard to, there was some ambiguity there as far as naming conventions. I mean, they had pedals that were named things like the Silly Cat. You'll never see a product from Roland or Boss named the Silly Cat ever again. All right. And now, with the 1 original screw, I'm going to replace the 1 not original screw in this one. Probably need a bigger job. So, yes, those are very rare and expensive delays. Got one coming. Along the lines of that series, since you guys also probably know I'm doing a chorus and... That looks just like those. Maybe I should pull one of these out. I'm also doing chorus and phaser. I also got a Boss CE1, the Chorus Ensemble 1, which is also a large format brown cast case. Oh yeah, look at that. Cast case Boss pedal. I think that one actually is labeled Roland. It's the chorus of the Roland JC120 Jazz Chorus. The pedal version also has a vibrato with a little bit more control than the amp does, if I remember correctly. Yeah, look at that. Now I got 4 perfectly matching screws in that one. and 4 perfectly matching screws in this one, even though they're new. And 4 incredibly not matching random screws here. This one's not even the right size, and it's stripped. Let's go in the trash. Yeah, so the CE1 chorus ensemble, which will be compared to these guys, and the the Boss DM1 analog delay. It's also a Bucket Brigade analog delay like the others were doing. I think it's also Redicon chips. And from that series, and I think this again is labeled Roland rather than Boss, which is just kind of, it's so early in the history of Boss that they were just really didn't have a distinct image and differentiation yet between what was what. I think this is Roland labeled. It's the AP2, which is the phaser. It's not the jet phaser that's in that wide one, but it's the long and taller one, the phaser, that's also in that brown kind of tombstone case, I guess you'd call it, or it sort of looks like those like long, tall mailboxes that you might bolt to your house next to your front door if your mailman comes up to your door, or you know, kind of like a birdhouse. I don't know. Like a cast aluminum birdhouse. But yeah, so I got those. They make a, I don't know if it's an overdrive or a fuzz, and I'm saying that after hearing it. They make a drive pedal of sorts, and it's called a BG. You guys remember these things? These are my helpers. I'm going to use them for sure right here. See, it slips right over. It just has to go around that nut. And then you put it on. And I'm going to point it right down at that corner, and I think that's a good place. But we'll check the dial in a second. And they have a flanger in that series, and the flanger in that series I think is the last one they made. And rather than being this like grayish brown mud color like the rest, which don't get me wrong, it is very cool, it's blue. So I'm kind of wanting one of those. The problem is I can't really call that a classic. It is vintage. It is a flanger. I didn't even know the thing existed until earlier this week, and I've been following that stuff practically since it was new. Not quite that long. Not too far from it. So, yeah, I don't know if I'll get one to include, but it's a cool thing to have on my radar for later. You know, I've got a nice silver screw long dash collection of the Boss compact pedals that came after. So now I'm kind of working on that series that came before. All right. Now, I never did do this. Okay, that's just to wear the cleaner in. It might have dried out a little bit, but not too much by now. All right, time to fire this guy up. I'll zoom in, and you know how this works. I'm going to put it on the Variac. I'll bring the voltage up slowly and announce the current draw and voltage as I crank it up. And if it starts smoking, you guys tell me. You know, if it catches on fire, make sure you tell me, and I'll back off. All right, so got the benchtop power supply on. I will bring up the current, or the voltage, and watch the current. 7 volts, 11.5, 17, 20 volts, 21, 0 amps. All right, past 30 volts, 0 amps, 39, 47, 52 volts. I should be seeing something soon. There's 62 volts, 65, 72, 76. Okay, 79.8. We've got 0.01 amps. That's good. That means it's doing something, but it's not pulling current like crazy. There's no significant shorts in there. All right, we're up past 100 volts, and it was just doing 0.01 amps, which is exactly what I want to see. Okay. Now we back the power supply down, unplug the pedal. We're going to plug the pedal into just a regular wall outlet.